This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Financially Fit Business. Get the business tool that turns your financial statements into impactful graphs that help you see your business trends to make sure they're headed in the right direction. Go to www.financiallyfit.business and get started today. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you. Do you have a phantom stock plan? What's that? Well, we're going to answer that question today. This might be the best way to retain your team members. You might remember my guest today, Chris Buttenham, who talked about exit plans about a year ago. Today, he'll give you what a phantom stock plan is and how it might benefit your business and you. Chris, welcome
Thanks,
to
Ruth.
Contractor
Yeah,
Sense. You were
happy to
quiet
be here.
there. I just want to make sure you're still there.
I'm here.
Very good. So let's talk about, phantom stock plans, because I would imagine that most of the listeners here, when I gave that intro, went, what in the world is a phantom stock plan? And
Yeah,
so why don't we start there?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, some folks have heard of phantom equity, phantom stock, ghost stock, synthetic equity. It goes by a bunch of really, really bad names, and it's unfortunate because it's a really great benefit. I think it's been made a little bit more popular by the insurgence of private equity, who are making these types of incentives more commonplace. But basically, what it is it's a contract that pays employees a bonus in the future, and that bonus is valued based on the underlying equity in the business. And the bonus triggers into cash, usually when the business sells, but could be other events like the employee's retirement or even an annual distribution of profits, for example. So really, really awesome benefit that incentivizes employees like owners without actually giving up any control or liability.
So, for example, if the business had $100,000 net profit, let's do some easy numbers so that everybody listening can actually put them in their head. Then we take a piece of that 100,000 in profit and turn it into stock.
You could do that. You could do that. Usually the way it works with phantom stock is folks will carve out, let's say, 10, 15% of the value of the business, and then they'll share that amongst, a handful of key employees that they don't really want to lose. And then when the business sells, that 10 to 15% turns into cash. So that's usually 10 to 15% of the net proceeds from the sale. That said, you could do it so that, on an annual basis, as long as the company hits certain profit goals, the employee earns or vests rather into their phantom stock that gets paid later when the business sells, for example.
Right. So this is not something that they get today. This is something they get at I would say, a liquidity event of some way, shape, or form.
Typically, yeah, we see phantom stock as a long-term incentive. That said, we often see it paired with profit sharing, which is more akin to what you were alluding to, where, on a quarterly or an annual basis, key employees can participate in a pool of profits. And that may be on a pro rata basis of how much phantom stock they own, or it may be completely, removed from the idea of phantom stock in entirety. Just as long as the business hits their goals. Let's say, I'm a contractor and I want to hit 15% net profit on a quarterly basis. If we hit that, we'll share, say, 10% of profits with employees.
Yeah, at some future point in time.
Well, it could be paid out right then and there. So
Okay.
often we see the profit sharing as that feedback along the way. Because what are we trying to do when we set up a phantom stock plan? We're usually trying to align our team with the ultimate goal of selling our business or succession in some way. And so along the way, well, in order to exit for the number we want, we're going to probably have to get the business to a point of profitability that we get the multiple that we want. And so the profit sharing gives us that short-term feedback, like I said, quarterly, annually,
Yeah.
and then you get that bigger win when the business sells tied to the phantom stock that you have.
Got it. So you mentioned that this is mainly for key employees. Can it be for everybody in a company, or is it just meant for key employees?
It absolutely can. I think, folks in the past, because it's been traditionally really inaccessible and tough to set up, they've thought about it only for, a couple of key employees. But the way I like to think about it, especially phantom stock, is it's free. It's free to the contractor, right? It says it's a contract that grants the employee a right to a bonus in the future only if certain conditions are met. So it's a really great benefit that you can share with anyone. And I think a lot of the other thing that people get hung up on is the amount, right? And I see folks giving, as little as 1/4% to employees. And in terms of dollars, that could be, a lot of money. It could be life-changing to the average employee. So I wouldn't sleep on this as a broader benefit.
Got it. So somebody has to come in and explain this, right? Because I'm saying, oh, you're getting stock in the company. Great. I don't want it. I'd rather have money, something along those lines. So it has to be explained to the employees, correct?
Yeah, at least we take the position that you should really you should make a big deal about it. So you should get the team together, you should roll it out officially and communicate to them what it means, when it can be paid, how it's valued, and how it's earned. For sure should be communicated to the employees.
Absolutely. So before we take a break, if somebody is more interested in finding out more about the phantom stock plans or wanting to ask you questions about them, where do they find you?
Yeah, so you can find us at myreins.com, myreins.com. And we actually wrote a book last year called Alternative Equity, and it's all on how to leverage incentives like phantom stock in your business.
Okay. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. Imagine you had total freedom. You didn't have to worry about money. You didn't have to be a slave to your business. The words, I can't, are eliminated from your vocabulary. What if you could do what you want to do, whenever you want to do it? A financially fit business could give you that freedom. How? By knowing what your financial statements are telling you and taking action based on what they say. You can do this in less than 10 minutes a month, at an investment of less than taking your family out to dinner once a month. And if your financial statements are a mess, you can get help. Go to www.financiallyfit.business or click on the QR code below to get started today. We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm speaking with Chris Buttenham, and we have been talking about phantom stock plans. And give everybody the name of the book that you wrote last year too, please.
Yeah, it's called Alternative Equity, and we have a knack for giving it away for free. So if you go to our website, myreins.com, you'll be able to find it there. And if you fill out a simple form, we'll mail you a copy for free.
Okay, it's MYREINS, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So we've been talking about the plan itself. And one of the questions that really comes up a lot, at least in my looking at it, is what happens if an employee leaves? Are they vested, 100%, or they leave? What happens?
Yeah, great question. Probably the number one question we get asked is how does this get set up, right? So the short answer is it depends on how the plan is designed. I would say the most common way it's designed is that employees forfeit the incentive if they leave for any reason. That is not to say that's the only way it can be set up. So you can have it so that it's set up where, as long as they've been with the company for a number of years, or whether or not they've completed certain goals or performance conditions, then they can effectively leave with that benefit. You can always still defer payment to a sale, or, it can be so flexible that you pay them out right then and there. Obviously it depends on the goals of the business, what they're trying to achieve. And there's obviously serious cash flow considerations
Yeah.
that businesses will want to consider if they are paying out phantom equity upon, the exit of an employee.
Yeah. The only thing that I might, if it were me anyway, consider doing that is if the person got disabled or something and was no longer able to work or passed away, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Goes
we
into
see
his
that,
estate.
and
Yeah.
and some of the most key employees who, as long as, certain conditions are met, like if they grow the business by X% year over year and they've served, X amount of years of service, then they'll be paid out the benefit as long as they leave for anything other than just cause. And then in that case, it's usually done through installment payments so that the business can sort of cash flow plan and make sure they don't have a big liability, one day randomly in the future.
Yeah. Well, it'll kill your cash flow.
That's right. That's right.
You can save for it, and you probably should, but it still can kill your cash flow that
It
way.
can. Yep.
So how long does it take to set up one of these plans?
Yeah. I mean, common misconception is that it's really, really complicated. It's not, at least with what we've done is we've standardized it. So we've broken it down into, a series of 5 to 10 different options that you can choose from to customize your plans. We can get a plan designed within 1 or 2 30-minute calls. I think historically, when you go to consultants or specialized compensation and benefits experts, they get paid by the hour and are incentivized to make it more complicated rather than more accessible.
The reasons for flat rate pricing keep
Yes,
coming
that's right.
on better and more.
That's right.
So cool. So talk about some success stories. I mean, you've been doing this for a while, and
Yeah.
with company owners, they've retained, obviously have retained their top people, or potentially all of them. But is it good that you found in terms of hiring where you can compare two companies? This one has this, and this one does not.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll say a couple of things. One is that owners will come to us for a number of different reasons. One is, yeah, they really want to retain key employees. 2, they really want to grow. And 3, they want to exit. Or, at least they don't want to be the sole operator of the business. If I'm being honest, usually it's a combination of 2 or 3 of those. And what we've seen is that 93% of employees who have ever been granted an incentive, at least through our system, are still employed with those businesses, which is far better than the national average in terms of turnover
Hmm.
in the industry. We also, because we value the business for the purpose of the incentive plan, we can see that on average, 12 to 24 months after setting up a plan like this, um, we're seeing on average 15 to 20% lift in business valuation. And then we actually successfully have helped a few companies already sell. And in that regard, we're seeing the exit multiples be very, very durable and strong. And the incoming buyers are really underwriting it as a net positive because they're confident that the core team isn't going to run away as soon as the deal goes through, because a lot of these plans are set up where they have golden handcuffs on the back end and the employees have to remain employed post sale in order to receive the full benefit of their phantom stock.
For a period of time, not forever,
Yes,
correct?
no, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen them like a year or 2 years, depending
Yeah,
upon
year
who it
2 years
is.
is standard. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, all right, final thoughts.
Well, I gotta say, the common issue with any incentive plan is that folks overcomplicate it, and it doesn't need to be complicated. Giving employees a bonus in the future when you sell your business really aligns their interests with yours and shows them how they can win when the business wins. So I just highly encourage everyone to look into these incentives that haven't historically been accessible to the average independent business.
Very good. Chris, the website is myreins.com, myreins.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Ruth.
My pleasure. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money, too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.